Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me for this event. It's a pleasure being here during the inaugural event of the Association of Smart and Cognitive Cities. And thanks to Birmingham City University for inviting me to speak during this event. So today we're going to talk about how to utilize the metaverse to make our cities smarter. And what some of us might already know that it's estimated by 2050 that about 70% of the world's population will be living in cities. But what some of us might not know is that also studies show that people living in cities are having about 21% increased risk of getting anxiety disorders, about 39% increased risk of getting mood disorders like depression, and almost twice the risk of getting other psychological or facing other psychological issues like schizophrenia. And the question is, what could be the reason? Is the reason the way we design and build our cities, or is it the way or the habits of the inhabitants of these cities? And the answer is that, of course, both of these reasons have something to do with it. But how can we design or work on designing a human-centric metaverse in cities? We have a very effective tool, which is in the metaverse, that we can utilize to achieve reduced stress, improved mood, improved cognitive performance, mitigate or eliminate the negative psychological impact, humanize our cities, improved productivity and engagement, and ironically, even attention restoration. So in the digital age now, we're so much attached to our digital stuff that we have a very short attention span, and it's just getting shorter and shorter. So we can actually utilize the metaverse to restore some of this attention, or to achieve some attention restoration. So one of the main problems as architects, engineers, urban designers, and interior designers is that we study nothing about the human psychology in the vast majority of our universities and institutes. So that means that we basically study nothing about the end user that we are designing for. Yeah. And when we're dealing with designing human-centric cities, to achieve positive psychological impact design elements, we should differentiate between three main categories: between urban design, architecture, and interior design. Of course, there are some generic standards and guidelines for all of them, yet it's about the nuances that differentiates each category. And the idea here that we impact our cities and our cities impact us. So we need to kind of teach psychology and the metaverse in our architecture, urban design, and interior design schools in order to be able to achieve such positive impacts. There are many psychology schools that we can utilize in this, but I'm just going to highlight a bit on the environmental psychology, which focuses on the transactions between individuals and their surroundings, and it examines how the natural environment and our built environments shape us as individuals. Environmental psychology emphasizes how humans change the environment and how the environment changes humans' experiences and behaviors. So again, we impact our cities and our cities impact us, and we will need psychology professionals to be also involved in this kind of tasks or work. And by designing human-centric smarter cities, we will increase creativity and productivity, eliminate or mitigate these negative impacts. So let's take a step back and try to define what is the metaverse. And the metaverse is not just merely VR spaces where avatars are walking and talking. We should consider or look at the metaverse as an ecosystem of technologies, including virtual reality, augmented reality, extended reality, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and other technologies. And what we do is that we mix and match between these technologies in order to come up with the best strategy to achieve our goals. So, for example, our goals here would be to achieve smarter cities or to achieve positive psychological impact design elements or design techniques in our cities. So metaverse simulation methods are used to help build an experimental science of urban design. And we are promoting now human-centric city, so humans should be at the center of these experiments, at the center of what we are doing. We should measure the impact on them, on the residents of these cities. So participants are placed into highly immersive simulations of city spaces using sophisticated head-mounted displays and precise motion tracking. Then they are able to walk freely through photorealistic simulations of urban spaces that are replete with depth, color, and motion. We can then monitor their gaze, their heartbeats, their physiology using a set of sensors. We can measure their heartbeats and the state of their autonomic nervous system as they react to arousing and stressful events. So we can use that to actually simulate or replicate an existing place. If we think that there is a negative impact from this design or this location, it's a chaotic place, people are suffering from some depression or some psychological issues, then we can replicate this in a metaverse environment and then measure the impact on the participants and then start introducing some design elements or some design improvements and then measure the impact again on the participants and then continue experimenting this until we come up with the best design approach in order to resolve these issues. It can be on an existing location, existing area, city, district, or whatever, and it can be a new design if we want to introduce a new design. So instead of just spending all this time and money, we can measure the impact on the participants before approving a design and maybe do some modifications. And here we are truly doing what we are referring to as a human-centric city using or utilizing the metaverse set of technologies or ecosystem of technologies. So let's imagine the city as a person. What would be the personality of that city, right? And that was actually done in a book called Psychology and the City by Charles Landry and Chris Murray, where they ran this test on 11 cities, and they came up with some results like, for example, Adelaide has suffered from a lack of confidence that is slowly regaining, it's beginning to feel at ease and so forth. Bilbao is proud, perhaps even too proud. And it's a really good method, to understand the personality of the test, of the city, and then start introducing some elements in order to either build, enhance, and capitalize on the positive traits or mitigate and eliminate and resolve any negative impacts or negative traits. So we can utilize the metaverse and artificial intelligence to change the personalities of our cities to become smarter, human-centric, and empowering creativity. So why do people live and move to cities? Pretty basic examples: better jobs and income, better education, better housing, higher living standards, more opportunities, right? So the thing is that we have many issues in our cities that people are suffering from. So the metaverse for sustainable is a pretty effective tool towards more sustainable and smarter cities. According to a UN report, building and construction are responsible for nearly 37% of the annual global carbon dioxide emissions and about 40% of the annual global energy consumption, right? So I'd like to mention the idea or the next frontier of digital transformation, which is called the bricks and mortarless, which is basically utilizing the ecosystem of technologies of the metaverse in order to operate virtually and through this ecosystem of technologies whenever applicable. It's the same way we are doing the digital transformation by going paperless. So most of our transactions, or all of them, become digitally done, and in the process we are saving millions of trees, lots of resources, reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. The same story can happen in the construction and building industry by going bricks and mortarless, which means we will be saving millions and millions of resources that goes into construction and building, reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, and reducing the running consumption of electricity, water, and so forth. So how can the metaverse resolve or contribute to resolving the housing crisis, for example, in cities? I'm going to give an example by Ireland. So Ireland is short of about 116,000 homes, according to an initiative in Ireland. And the total number of commercial buildings in Ireland is about 109,000 buildings. So this is an example that by going bricks and mortarless, we can repurpose about 50% of these commercial buildings to become residential buildings, and that would significantly contribute to resolving the housing problem in Ireland, Europe, and other locations in the world. So for example, if we do 1 day working through the metaverse or utilizing the ecosystem of the metaverse and ecosystem of technologies of the metaverse, then by default, we are actually reducing our need for office and commercial spaces by 20%, and that could increase. And this is, I mean, not just simply working from home, it is actually giving us much more effective tools in order to operate more effectively and in order to measure the progress and in order to improve and enhance our progress in general. And again, we mix and match between these technologies in order to come up with the best strategy tailored to every business. So some examples of how the AI and the metaverse can be utilized in smarter cities. So for example, utilizing generative artificial intelligence, it can optimize the urban traffic flow by analyzing real-time data from sensors and cameras and suggesting dynamic route adjustments to solve congestions and improve transportation efficiency. As mentioned, it can definitely assist in urban planning as well by simulating and evaluating different scenarios, considering factors like population growth, land use, and other environmental impact, which will help city planners to make informed decisions and create smarter, more resilient urban environment. We can utilize predictive artificial intelligence as well, for example, to enhance city services and resource allocation, to improve public safety by identifying potential crime hotspots and suggesting the necessary measures, by intelligent resource management, so optimize resource management strategies by focusing demand on consumption patterns, cities, and proactively allocate resources, detect and mitigate leaks or wastage, and implement efficient recycling and waste management systems. This will promote sustainability and cost effectiveness and ensures the efficient use of resources for smarter cities. Robotic process automation can streamline administrative tasks, and the idea of robotic process automation, people say, okay, we will lose millions of jobs to artificial intelligence, but we should think of it in a way that it will actually free up the human resources to do more strategic, creative, value-added tasks and avoid basically the repetitive administrative tasks that are potential wasting. We are wasting our life in this kind of repetitive tasks. RPA can improve citizen services by enabling faster and more accurate responses to inquiries and services, and definitely cities can optimize their back-end processes and systems integration, so facilitating seamless data exchange and collaboration across different departments and agencies, resulting in a more interconnected and efficient city structure. So I want to touch upon education. For example, and education is one of the main problems in our cities as well. So according to a UN and UNESCO report, the number of out of school children globally of primary, lower, and upper secondary school age is about 258 million children. That's a huge number, 258 million children. About 97.5 million in sub-Saharan Africa and about 93 million in Southern Asia. The number of out-of-school children of primary school age only is about 59 million children, about 39 million in sub-Saharan Africa, and about 12.5 million in Southern Asia. And the thing is that, if you think of it, the school building actually is one of the main barriers to deliver education to this huge number of children who are not lucky enough to get even the basic education, because of the amount of resources required to actually build the school, the running cost, operational cost, the huge investment required, and so forth. So in order to deliver a successful educational process, we need a student, a curriculum, and a teacher. And we might not even need the teacher, right? But a curriculum and a student. The thing here is that we don't really need the school building in order to deliver a successful educational process. So if we manage to eliminate this barrier, we would be able to deliver education to more out-of-school children, right? And that is called the bricks and mortarless education, or education utilizing the metaverse to deliver education by through the metaverse, through interactive and immersive experiences, and remove this kind of barrier. I'll touch upon quickly the teacher component here. Again, this could be automated because it doesn't mean that teachers will lose their jobs. We just want to free up these resources to do more creative and added value tasks. And whatever could be automated through artificial intelligence would give us a more effective tool as well to customize the educational experience to the requirements of every student, instead of just giving the same kind of content to all students. Yeah. So conclusion, the metaverse and artificial intelligence can be used to design and operate human-centric smarter cities and achieve positive impacts using the methods mentioned in this presentation. Going bricks and mortarless is the next frontier of digital transformation, which is utilizing the metaverse as an ecosystem of technologies to make our cities more sustainable and smarter. The metaverse gives us smarter tools to resolve housing, education, transportation, safety, and healthcare issues. Generative artificial intelligence, predictive artificial intelligence, and RPA are examples of technologies that could be utilized within the metaverse solutions to make our cities smarter. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer.